I'm going to share tonight, I believe, has the power to change lives. The number one cause for bankruptcy in the United States, anybody have any idea what it is? Medical care, right? Medical bankruptcy, okay? This is kind of weird. I'm not going to get on the big soapbox of bashing medicine because I think there's a time and place, but it's interesting. In June, they came out with a study, and they said that the third leading cause of death in the United States behind cancer and heart disease is medical care. Isn't that weird? So obviously with the system that we've got going on that everybody kind of turns to of running for a drug to cover up a symptom, it doesn't work. In fact, it's the leading cause of bankruptcy, right? And then one of the leading causes of death in the United States, which is a pretty scary deal. So I want to expose you guys to something maybe you've heard before, maybe you haven't heard before. But like I said, in my opinion, this is the most powerful message that I've ever learned, and it has the potential to change lives. Okay, so we're going to start with a game. The game is an easy way just to kind of break the ice instead of saying, like, my name is Ryan, I like red rhinoceroses. It's a cheesy game. We don't want to do that. So we're going to play a game that I created, and it's going to be fun. This is called Healthy or Sick, okay? I'll just need you guys' participation in this. I will misspell something, I'm sure, before the night's over. I'm going to try not to, and my writing is a little sloppy, but it'll be all right. So we're going to go throw out some symptoms. You tell me, is this a symptom of being healthy or a symptom of being sick? Okay? It's going to be really tough, and I'm just going to abbreviate some stuff. Vomiting. Right, everybody's like, that's easy. Okay, so we'll go with that. Let's just go diarrhea. Okay, let's switch gears just a little bit and do a headache. Okay, and if you guys say sick and you're like, no, dude, that's healthy, tell me. I'm going to put a mark on both sides because I'm not crazy. Okay, so let's go low back pain. Okay, some of you are smiling because I've already talked to you about some things, but we'll get there. Shift gears. Let's go sweating. Healthy? Okay, I'll agree with that. What if we put a /F for a fever? Oh boy, now it's getting weird. All right, and this is the last one here. Goosebumps. Could be healthy. Scary. Yeah, there you go. I mean, all other categories. Scared. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's good. So healthy is what we're saying, and that's about what everybody does every week, okay? You guys are in the normal crowd right now. This is a good thing. Now, of course, some of these things are, well, pretty much every one of them is an involuntary thing. Yeah, I can stick my finger down my throat and make myself puke, but it's really not me, like, contracting it on purpose, right? My stomach to, like, get everything out of there. It's an involuntary thing, right? You guys all agree with that? Okay, so there's a term here that I want to introduce you guys to. I'm going to write this one nice and clear. Nobody's like, what? It's innate. Innate means inborn, okay? So there's this intelligence in our body. We can call it the subconscious. That's one word for it. I like the word innate because I like the word intelligence because that's what this thing is. We have an amazing amount of intelligence in our bodies that does every one of these things plus 100,000 other things that you and I are not even thinking about, like growing our fingernails as we're sitting here. I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not putting too much energy into that. But what about growing your hair? You know, you're not really thinking about that, but that innate intelligence knows to make this hair about 4 feet long if you let it, and this, you know, a ½ inch and really hairy. Apparently, that's how it goes. So innate is on the scene, running our bodies. It's the whole separate side of our consciousness, if you really think about it. So it's kind of neat to think that you have something in your body that's running the show. So I'm going to throw this out there, and this is where it gets a little tricky. I believe everything belongs over here. And that's where people get a little lost. Let me explain it. If we go over to Chili's, and by now Chili's has got to hate me because I say this every week, right? If we go over to Chili's and we walk in there and we all eat the same food, and let's just say it happens to be spoiled. Okay, we all get food poisoning from it. And in a couple hours, we all get on a conference call and we're like, hey, are we expressing symptoms of health or symptoms of being sick? Everybody's gonna be like, I'm sicker than a dog. But you really think about it, like getting something in your system that you shouldn't have in there and upchecking, that's a pretty healthy response, right? Because if it was in your system, then that bacteria or that virus can get into your bloodstream and really cause some problems. So the fact that we can have an exit here coming out and the exit here coming out is kind of a cool thing. It's not a comfortable thing, and that's what I want to teach you guys tonight. I'm going to erase these words, and we're going to go with comfortable versus uncomfortable. Because if we couldn't do any of these, we would be in rough shape, right? We'd overheat, right? Or we'd freeze. And these involuntary mechanisms that we go through are ways that our innate intelligence protects us. So if you really get down to it, innate intelligence allows us to adapt to our environment. That's really what its job is. That's what the nerve system's job is to adapt to our environment so that we can thrive and be healthy and move forward, right? And that's really what it's all about. How in the world does this relate to chiropractic? I know some of you are asking. Does anybody remember if I started, if you were a new patient with me, and I told you that number, that percentage of nerve compression before pain starts? Anybody remember that?
60%?
Yes. You get a gold star. I don't have gold stars, but you get one. Okay, 60% nerve compression, right? That's a big study that came out of the university, or Colorado State University, excuse me. They found that it takes the weight of a dime on a nerve to stop 60% of the information going through it. And that's significant because that's where pain starts. And that's pretty huge in my books, right? That says that I can have a lot of interference going on in my nerve system. Number one, it's kind of cool because I'm not like wallowing around the floor in pain with 1% nerve compression. But at the same time, there's a lot of like flexibility there that I can take, my nerve system can take a lot of beating, right? Before it alerts me and tells me, hey, there's too much smoke in the room, get out. It's kind of like a fire alarm, right? But the weight of a dime isn't that much. It's pretty sensitive. So it's really pain, as we get into these two guys, pain is really about letting us know there's a problem, okay? The nerve system, well, we'll just say the nerve, is a tube, right? It's a conduit with innate intelligence going down from the brain, okay? And it's information coming up from the body in communication. And when that thing gets disrupted and gets pinched down, when the bone puts pressure on that nerve and it stops that flow of intelligence to and from the body, that's where pain starts, okay? And it's there to let us know, hey, we've got a significant problem here. Maybe you should sit down and rest for a little bit. Maybe you should go lay down. Maybe you should go see a chiropractor, right? Or maybe you should cover it up. Maybe you should cover up the screaming with a drug, right? And that's what we do, is we cover things up with those drugs, right? Or we go in and we actually move the bone off the nerve and get it corrected. Let's talk about this arrow here real quick. This arrow going up to the brain, okay? They say it's estimated we get 640 million nerve impulses per minute to our brain. How crazy is that? That's a lot of information. Just to put it in perspective, I think this is kind of neat. There's 320 million people in the United States. It's half the number. So it's almost like every person in the United States gets to tell you 2 facts in 1 minute's time, and you got to think about that, you know? I love my kids, I've got 3 of them, but sometimes that's a little much, you know, it's just what it is. So Newton's third law, I love this. Newton's third law says for every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction. So if my brain's taking in, your brain's taking in 640 million nerve impulses, how many are we kicking back out, Louise? 640 million, right? So we really get down to this brain, this signaling going up and down, being, 1.2 billion impulses in and out of the brain per minute. And that's crazy because I'm definitely not thinking that hard right now, right? But my brain is, my innate intelligence is. So when you really get down to all of this, these symptoms that we express in life, or these adaptations that we go through in life, this is innate intelligence taking in the signals from our bodies, whether it's temperature, whether it's vibration, whether it's nerve compression, or the right amount of stomach acid, or whatever it is, that are coming up to the brain. But when that signal gets disrupted, right, through a subluxation, I've said that word, I'm running out. A subluxation is what a chiropractor adjusts. We check, analyze, and locate vertebral subluxations. It's kind of like a dentist using the word cavity, subluxation. Can't misspell that one. Sub means less than, lux means life, ation means sensation of. So simply put, this is the sensation of less life. Makes sense, right? We're talking about innate intelligence, which really is life flowing through the nerve system down to the tissue doing something and coming back up, and it's this constant communication back and forth. Who else married? What if you disrupt communication with your husband or wife? Healthy marriage or sick marriage, right? Not a comfortable marriage, that's for darn sure, right? That's the same thing, right? When this information gets jacked up, it stops flowing correctly. Most important organ in the whole body. The nervous system. The nervous system, the brain, right? What's the hardest substance of the body? Bone? Yeah, what's the only organ completely covered in bone? The brain, right? So this thing's obviously pretty darn important, right? We got this big shell on the top of it, encasing it, and then we have the vertebra. As this thing flows down to the body, we've got the vertebra that surround it, okay, and encase this whole deal in a shell, a protective deal. You know, the heart's pretty important, but there's still holes through here that the things can get into, so it's kind of encased with the rib cage. So it's important, I agree, but the brain is the master control. We're going to keep this. Let me show you how subluxation works. So let's go back to Chili's, right? We've got this nerve coming out of here. T6 is the nerve that goes to the stomach. We've got, I've never really learned how to draw a stomach. They always kind of look like chili peppers. I think that's chilies like getting after me, like haunting me. So let's say this is a stomach, okay? Let's just say it's a stomach. We've got a nose and an eyeball and a mouth, and we're putting food in, and that food comes down, and it disrupts the stomach lining, and the stomach lining says, nope, not happening, and we have that signal that comes up to the brain, and the brain says, let's vomit, and boom, we get it back out, right? That's normal function, right? That's what we're supposed to have happen if we eat something bad. What happens if we have a subluxation here? Well, the subluxation is the sensation of less life, and less life means non-functioning tissue correctly. In fact, the word, this is what it is. Subluxation retards the normal function of the tissue. And that's what it does. It stops the normal function from happening. And because of that, this is really crazy. Let's say Luis always gets adjusted. Okay, T6 is totally clear, there's no subluxation there. Let's say I've never been adjusted. We both go eat the same food. Okay? Now she walks out, and because she's adjusted, no subluxation, communication's happening there, she starts throwing up. I'm all blocked up here, I don't have any communication going back and forth, I'm not puking. What does society say the sick person is? Right? Isn't that weird? That's really weird. Luis is the sick person, she's puking. No, I don't think so, I think she's healthy. Now this gets all crazy, and you can go with like that on almost everything that happens. The body produces symptoms in a response to things that are happening to our environment. And if we can't adapt, or we have a failure to adapt, then that's really where the real sickness is, in my opinion. Okay, so let's go into this here. I'm going to tell you a little story here. So 60% nerve compression. This would be 100%, 0%. This is time. Okay, and this is, like I said, nerve compression. So if we start here, okay, and we look at how this thing works. The scary part about subluxation, in my opinion, is that there's no symptoms other than organ dysfunction. So you may call it asthma, you may call it diabetes, you may call it, a lot of different things, right? Infertility, you may call it all kinds of stuff depending on where this thing is going to. You may call it stomach, you may call it heartburn, right? Because too much stomach acid is being produced, there's not a right amount of communication, and that junk starts creeping back up there, right? Any symptom, I don't care what it is a result, short of breaking your leg, right? If I break my leg, that's not a symptom of subluxation. But, dysfunction in the body, it all starts with a nerve impulse not getting there, not regulating what's happening here, and that happens. So you have symptoms unrelated to pain, let's say it like that happen, but a lot of times we don't relate that back to my spine, okay? Medicine has done a fantastic job at having a narrow focus. This poster here says it, right? The second one, it says, medicine is a study of disease and what causes a man to die. Chiropractic is a study of life and what causes a man to live. Those are two different ways to go, right? We're either going to study sickness and disease, which is a great thing. I mean, trust me, if I'm dying, I want somebody who knows about sickness and disease so they can, it's like a fire department kicking in the door, hosing down everything. They don't care if they spray water on your flat screen, right? As long as they put the fire out and save the house, that's really what I care about, right? A chiropractor is a little different. He's going to come in and remodel everything and make it look nice and be nice to live in, okay? So when we're going about this, we have no symptoms here other than the miscommunication of the tissue. Once we hit past that 60%, what happens? Pain, right? So pain goes on until you guys have enough, and then you say, that's it. I'm going to that chiropractor that somebody always talks about, and you guys end up here. Now this is an important part because this is a big thing that distinguishes our office, I believe, from everywhere else, is that we take the time to do this. Because I could be at home with my kids right now, but I want to be here with you guys so you guys understand what we're getting into, so you guys can have the best expression of life possible. Because as we start to take this thing down, what happens here is it gets real easy once we get below that threshold to throw some high fives around, Like, dude, we got it. We got your problem fixed, right? And it's easy to think that if all we're focused on is the resolution of symptoms, okay? I don't really like to play that game. So honestly, it's not that I don't care about it, but I'll probably stop asking you in a couple of visits how you're feeling. I want to know in the beginning so we can figure out the rate at which this is going to go down. But after a while, I don't really, that sounds really harsh, but I don't really care how you feel. I care how you function, right? So we get down here and we start to get to this point, and we'll have this conversation. Somebody will say to me, they'll say, hey, I think I'm going to cut back. I think I'm going to stop coming in. My insurance dried up, whatever it is, we've got solutions for it, okay? Because the problem, until it's fixed, until that spine is totally straight and it doesn't have, right, those kinks in it that shouldn't be there, creating those subluxations that we'll see on your x-rays here in a few minutes. I don't care if it's 1% below or 59% below that line, right? The problem's still there. And if we don't stay on it, you know what's going to happen? It's going to creep back up, and then we get into this pattern, right? Where it's exhausting, people think, I give up. Chiropractic doesn't work for me. I would argue that the chiropractor didn't work for you, right? He didn't do his job to teach you chiropractic, which is what it is. And that's how this thing goes. So here's the story. I have this guy that comes into me, Matt. Matt's an awesome guy. He's a really funny dude. And so him and I will carry on about chiropractic a little bit, but most of the time we're telling jokes, we're talking about his family, his wife, his 2 kids get adjusted. He's a really funny guy to be around. Like he's a lot of fun when he's in here. So Matt comes in, this is a couple years ago. And so he comes in and he's all like distraught. He's really like just messed up. And I was like, dude, what is going on with you today? And he says, well, I just left the hospital. My brother has got liver failure and they're sending him home with hospice. I was like, crap, that sucks. Yeah, my brother's gonna die. And he's like tearing up. So I give him a big hug because this is a big family, right? And I said, that sucks, dude. And he goes, yeah, he's got a week to 10 days to live. Crap. I don't really know where the words came from, but I said it. I go, bring him in here. And he goes, what are you gonna do? You're not a liver specialist. He's been to the best liver people in town. He's been up at Wesley for however many days, weeks, whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm not a liver specialist, but you know what I am? I'm a life specialist, right? Because that's what innate intelligence is life. That's another word for it. This is kind of crazy. When you look at a dead body's got a brain and a spinal cord, right? But it doesn't have life flowing through it. And so I don't care what you do to the dead body, it's never going to heal. You cut it, right? It's never going to heal because it's not alive. It doesn't have innate intelligence. So I said, Matt, go get him and bring him up here. So he's like, you think? Dude, I don't know. What are we going to lose, right? So he goes and gets Monty. And Monty is about the color of one of those yellow M&Ms over there. And he comes in. I don't know if you guys have ever seen anybody on liver failure, right? And liver failure, but they are full of toxins, right? So they don't smell wonderful. The skin doesn't look good. I mean, it's flaky and it is. I mean, he doesn't look healthy. And you can see that. He's expressing symptoms of death, not life. So he sits in the chair up here, and I said, all right, come on back. So he's on a cane. He walks back and he sits down here and he rests. And he goes and sits on the exam table and he rests. And he goes in the x-ray room and he rests. He didn't have enough strength to walk back to take an x-ray. I said, here's the deal. We're going to take a picture. Just like T6 is the nerve that goes to the stomach, T5 is the nerve that goes to the liver. We're going to check your nerve that goes to your liver. If it's got a subluxation here, buddy, we're going to get after this thing, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you're clear, right? And you're expressing life through that tissue so that you can heal and repair and recover. See, the crazy thing is, Monty, he was only 44 at the time. He's an alcoholic, right? So you look at this, and this is kind of weird. He's putting, right, so this thing goes, I think my stomach's bad. That's a liver, okay? So he's putting the toxins in. He's also subluxated. So not only is he not getting the signals back and forth, so he's not healing this tissue, he's putting the toxins into the tissue, which is causing it to break down even faster. So he's kind of got like a double whammy going on, right? So we look at the x-ray. You guys know what I'm going to say, right? He's massively subluxated at T5. I was like, all right, here's the deal, man. You got this problem. I have literally no clue what's going to happen. But I know if that's there, the chance of your liver healing isn't going to happen. And Matt told me 7 to 10 days. He's like, yeah. And he was like looking at death, man. It's crazy. So I said, all right, I will see you every single day this week. Come in, right? Get in here. So he did. He came in every single day that week. We get into the next week. I see him a couple times. We're at the 7 days. And I took a note because he was able to walk from the front chair all the way back here. He's off his cane in a week. And And I'm looking at him like, wow, this is crazy. By 2 weeks, he's got a little pep in his step, a little swag, right? He's not like skipping back here by any means, but he's smiling and he's like, he's living life, right? I mean, that's what's happening. He's healing because we're removing the subluxation. Now, the important thing is here, chiropractic does not treat liver failure. Chiropractic does not treat infertility or asthma or cancer. I don't care what it is. I don't care what comes through the door. Chiropractic isn't treating that. The only thing that heals is innate. It's life. There's an old saying that drugs entertain while nature cures. I think nature can be replaced by innate. So Monty makes it about a month into it. He's back at work. He's back into his normal swing of things. He makes it about 6 weeks in, and I get a note. Too busy to come in, right? I'll call you when I need you. That's a big thing for me. Now I'm not holding on to that, because what happened because of that is Monty got down below this line somewhere. I don't know where. We never re-x-rayed him because he was in that, about 6 weeks from when we start is about when I take my next film. He quit before then. So I don't really know how much correction he has. But he goes back to work, he gets back into the grind. Because of that happened, I took care of 2 of his family members today and 1 yesterday that started because of his story, right? They're like, I've never been to a chiropractor before, but whatever that was, I want to make sure I've got that going on in me. And that's the cool thing, is like I don't heal anybody, it's innate that heals. We just remove the interference and allow that expression of life to get there. So you express the highest quality, the best version of you, 100% Luis. That's just what it is, okay? So I asked his aunt today, and this is a new, I tell this story every week because it means a lot to me, because I don't know, this is the crazy thing, I don't know when we're gonna have to do this with Monty. I don't know how many times we can take that up and down. I asked her today, this is 2 years later, the dude's still alive, okay? I said, hey, have you heard anything from Monty? She says, yeah, he was given 3 months to live a month ago. And my heart, I mean, this is just this morning, my heart just sunk. Shoot. Well, go get him. Well, he's in a care facility out on the west side of town. He's on dialysis and he's all this stuff. He started drinking again. You know, that's his life choices, whatever. I can't control those things. And she's like, you know, we've all, this is sad, because she goes, we've all pretty much given up on him. We've tried so many things. I just looked at it, I was like, I haven't, you know, go get his butt in here, let's get him adjusted, you know? Because I have faith and hope in this idea that if we get innate intelligence back to the tissue, honestly, that it created, right? Then you're going to be able to heal and restore. There's limitations to things, I get that, but you know, it happened before, and so I just don't want to get on that cyclic pattern. Now here's the deal, that's a really extreme example of subluxation, right? I hope none of you guys are going through that right now. From just your color, you don't look like you're going through that, okay? But I don't care if it's a liver that's in failure, right? Or a T6 that's not letting Luis puke, right? That's just what it is, and that's how it goes. So my job is to allow the nerve transmission to get back and forth as best as possible, honestly, for as long as possible. Because I do believe from, I had a little girl in here this morning from an hour and a half away, her second adjustment in her first week of life. That's awesome, right? Mom and dad get it, they want their kids to get adjusted. Because I believe it starts at birth, and I believe honestly it goes up to how old? What do you think? How long should you be adjusted? Forever. I like that. I like forever. Usually somebody will say till you die, and then I always throw it out there. Once you die, it's too late. So right before you die, I think it's good. And I know that's kind of silly, but I do believe that, right? As long as you have a spine, as long as you have innate intelligence flowing through your body, why wouldn't you want to maximize that expression of it, you know? So I'm going to stop here. I kind of talked a little bit longer than I planned on it, but this whole thing with Monty, that's kind of messed with me today. And I just don't want to see that happen. I can tell you other stories where people, you know, it's the expression of life to the tissue. If you're expressing life and getting it there, you're going to have a better expression than if you're not. It's really that simple. Okay? So what we'll do is we're going to start grabbing everybody and going back and looking at films. If we haven't gone over your films yet, we'll look at them. If we have gone over them, then I'll just get you guys adjusted.